Nick Tyrone, neoliberal centrist dad. New location, which long-time viewers will notice. I'm in a hotel room in Aberdeen, Scotland. I'm here actually exploring the oil and gas sector and renewable sector, the energy sector, and what is going on. And I could talk at length at that because that's what I've been doing for the last few days, going around Aberdeen and speaking to energy companies, both in the oil and gas sector and in renewables and in decommissioning, and then actually some businesses that are just around in Aberdeen that are affected by anything that happens in the energy sector, because as some of you may or may not know, Aberdeen is very reliant on the energy sector. It has been known as the oil and gas capital of Europe for a very long time, and that is mainly because, well, it is, basically. So, but it might not be in future, and that is down to many, many things. Anyway, I'm going on about Scotland, and obviously you have clicked on this video to talk about Ireland, which is a very different country, as you well know, separated by an entire sea from Scotland. And indeed, from where I am in Aberdeen, an entire Scotland and then a sea. Anyhow. So I wanted to do a wrap-up. I should have done this earlier, but I've just been insanely busy with work and other commitments to do a wrap-up on the Irish presidential election, which I got very into and I found very, very interesting. And I did many videos where I said people in Britain should care a lot more about Ireland, so I took my own advice and looked into it, and I was very happy that I did. I have to say that probably what I learned overall was not didn't make me feel more optimistic about the future of the West. I just have to be brutally honest. I found that Catherine Connolly, her rise, and then her, whatever anyone says, landslide victory. It was a landslide victory. You get over 60% of the vote, it's a landslide victory. Particularly when, your nearest competitor gets about half that. In fact, I think Connolly more than doubled what Humphreys got, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a landslide. It just is. You can not like that, but it is a landslide victory. And one of the things I wanted to pick up on is how it's been picked up in Britain. Now, as I've said many times on this channel, generally speaking, the British media does not really follow anything that's going on, particularly in Ireland, at all, even when it's quite momentous or even quite important to Britain. It sort of it has this blind spot about Ireland. I mean, again, I've done this in many videos, so I don't need to repeat myself there. But what's interesting is how this has been picked up. So the British left have really, really jumped on this. They've jumped all over Catherine Connolly and how she's this wonderful beacon for leftism throughout the world, and her election proves that the left is going to sweep all before it, and indeed the far left is going to come to power across Europe, perhaps across the world, is what we're kind of getting. It's the usual suspects, right? It's the people, it's Navarra media, it's the people it's the old Corbynista left, essentially, are really, really excited about Connolly winning. Because for starts, most of them don't know how Ireland works, so they imagine that Connolly has all sorts of powers that she doesn't. As you know, she is essentially a ceremonial head of state, an elected one, but nonetheless mainly ceremonial, with not really any executive power. It's escaped some on the British left who think she's going to, create socialism, basically, whatever they think socialism is at this particular moment in time. So they're very excited. They're very, very happy. I'm depressed about it for several reasons. One of which is I just don't like Catherine Connolly's politics. I don't like it wherever it appears. It's not an Irish thing at all. To me, there's actually sort of a pan-leftist, like blancmange kind of politics that transcends national borders now. So it's all the same stuff, and it doesn't matter if you're on the campus of NYU in America, or you're in Slovakia, or you're in southern Italy, or you're in Uzbekistan, probably. I'm guessing there, but maybe it is different there. I don't know. But essentially, it is really, really, really focused more than anything else on trans rights and Gaza. Those have become just the all-conquering things. and stuff like wealth inequality and stuff, it's just sort of given paid lip service, but it's nowhere near as important as Gaza and trans. Even environmentalism, I'm just thinking back on, what I've been doing the last couple of days in Aberdeen. It's amazing to me how much the Western left really doesn't particularly care about the environment all that much anymore. Sure, they will pay lip service to it when necessary. If it comes up in conversation, they will say, we need to transition to greener energy, and we need to, blah, blah, blah. We need to save the planet. But actually, then they just want to get off the topic and go back to Gaza and trans. I mean, it's pretty much as quickly as possible. And actually, more and more, it's more Gaza than trans, if I'm being honest. And just touching on Britain for a moment, I mean, you can see this in the Green Party. You've got Zach Polanski, who's the leader of the Greens, and he's very, very popular amongst a certain set of people in Britain. He's seen as the savior of leftism in Britain. And there is a feeling that, he's going to be prime minister and all the rest of this sort of thing. But interestingly enough, his deputy is, from what I can tell, he's a fundamentalist Islamist. Maybe that's just my impression that I get off him. Maybe he doesn't think of himself that way. That's the impression that he gives me, that he's not just a guy who's a Muslim, like Sadiq Khan or something. He is someone who holds rather extreme views. He's a rather conservative Muslim, let's put it that way, to be less controversial. And I just think this is going to come to a head across the West in the left. And we see it in Catherine Connolly, by the way. Catherine Connolly is very much the same. It's all Gaza. We had the stuff about her going to Syria. So it's this strange kind of viewpoint on Islam, that it's like this besieged group of people that need to be saved. They are part of the dispossessed, sort of automatically. And they need to be saved by white Western liberals. As because obviously it's white savior complex, ironically enough, that has exploded on the left. And it's silly and a bit sad. But I really saw that in Catherine Connolly and stuff that I watched. And I was sort of amazed, really, looking at Catherine Connolly's approach and her campaign, how little of it, relatively speaking, was Irish-focused, how little of it was about the country. I mean, she did talk about it, but I'm saying, I don't know, I always got the sense that she wanted to go back to, whatever, Gaza, more than anything else. Like, that was the thing that she wanted to go back to, like most of the Western left at the moment, and their obsession with it. And I'll tell you what, I want to keep this video short, because I'm in a kind of uncomfortable place. I'll explain in a moment what that is, and I will, if you're looking around going, what the hell is he doing? I will tell you at the end of the video. So watch to the end of the video to find out what this picture is and why I'm doing this and the position I'm in. I'll explain it. Anyway, so basically to wrap up on the substance of this video, what I'm actually scared of, so let's take Ireland, let's just look at Ireland, and then but I can extrapolate this out across most other Western countries. So what I'm really worried about is there will be a backlash to Connolly, right? There'll be loads of people who are upset. Look at all the spoiled ballots that the election served up. What that is really about is there are a lot of people who are conservative, right? They're very, very conservative in Ireland, and they look at Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, and they just look at them as establishment stooges. It's the same story you're getting. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are failing for the same reasons to some degree. It's not exactly the same, because you can't just, countries are different, right? But to some degree, it's a symptom of the same thing that has affected the British Conservative Party. It's like these guys are establishment stooges who have, stitched everything up for everyone, and they need to be done away with, and we need a proper conservative voice for us. And what I'm worried about is what you might see in Ireland is much more of a genuine conservative kind of thing coming forth and coming through, and getting organized, really, and essentially in some way, possibly over the years, subsuming portions of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil to become a real political force on their own. And who knows how right-wing that right-wing party might be. It's impossible to know until it happens. But it could be pretty conservative. And you could see lots of stuff in Ireland roll back. A lot of the liberal stuff that has, legislation. I don't need to go into all of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Rolling back. And a lot of the advances that I think have been made in Ireland on the liberal front will be undone. And again, I think a lot of that is fairly Ireland specific, but also I think that is a thing I'm more worried about across the West. As a liberal, I'm worried about that across the West, that we're going to have people sick of this form of leftist politics. They will want to reject it, and they will accept politicians who are much more right-wing than they are, much further to the right than they are, because they will say, well, we need these guys to get rid of those guys. That's what we need to do. And I could see that coming in Ireland. And actually, in a way, it's the worst of all worlds with Catherine Connolly being elected. I don't see how the Irish left don't see this, because essentially she can be this beacon for this new conservatism in Ireland. And actually, she has no power to change the narrative, really, does she? I mean, she doesn't have any actual executive power, so it's not like she's going to have a record of delivery that she can say, well, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and that, your ordinary guy on the streets of wherever, Cork, Limerick, can say, oh, well, I thought she was a bit of a lefty, but she did X, whatever X is. She can't do that. She can't actually prove to anyone that her politics represents something more than just, well, the usual leftist melange of, Gaza, trans, whatever. So, in a way, I think this is quite an alarming situation. I will be watching it closely because, as I say, one of the reasons I've always said that I think people in Britain should look at Ireland more is there are enough similarities in terms of culture that actually some of the trends that you might see in Ireland are worth looking at here and seeing where they go. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I want to keep this really short. As I say, this was sort of a wrap-up of my coverage of the Irish presidential election. I should have got to this way earlier, and I didn't, which was foolish of me. So sorry about that, but I was just busy. Okay, to explain where I am. I'm in my hotel room. Now, I guess I could have gone out into the Aberdeen, whatever, but it's very cold here. Aberdeen's cold in late October, and I was a bit of a wimp, and I didn't want to do that. Or at the very least, I didn't want to be outside for even the 10-15 minutes it would take me to make this video. Also, it's very windy, and I just didn't think I would get sound. So that's why I'm in sort of a weird place. And then the hotel room's not particularly built for anything like this. I don't have a desk or anything like that. So I was looking around, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I just looked, there's this picture here. And I set up this shot, and I hope it's all right. But that's it. And now, I'm getting uncomfortable because I'm in a very uncomfortable position. And it's bloody hot because I'm still wearing my suit, my vest from today for all my little professional meetings. And so I'm getting very hot, and I need to end this video so I can wear something cooler. Anyway, Nick Tyrone, Neoliberal Centrist. If you like this video, please watch the other videos. Like this video, give me a comment, subscribe to the channel. That always helps. And yeah, I'm going to die of heat exhaustion. See you later. Bye.